What's up, y'all? Let's get this shiny. Hopefully. I did renew my subscription to Pokemon Home. Let's see, what options do I have? So far, nothing looking too good, as at least the first two options. Doesn't Kangaskhan have Dig? So if I go here, I could go for the water type, and then I'll go for Kangaskhan. So, we have quite a lot of things to talk about today. First of all, rest in peace to Chuck Norris. Let's see, how old was he? He was 86. I mean, that's a pretty good run. Yikes, I have nothing good against Doublade. But yeah, he passed away yesterday. So rest in peace to the legend, Chuck Norris. And I also recently saw that Good Mythical Morning have reached 3,000 episodes. Good for them. Man, I used to be big into GMM back in the day, but then I stopped watching just because their content became not for me anymore. I remember when the first anniversary was a big deal, like the 1000th episode. I actually bought the coin. You know how every 1000 episodes they have a celebratory coin that they sell? I actually bought the 1000th one. I still have it somewhere. But yeah, 3,000 episodes. That's like, I think 12 years of doing this. So, good for them. Congrats to them. We did also get the official little teaser, the first teaser for Sonic the Hedgehog 4. We see all our characters being represented by the Chaos Emeralds. It really makes me wonder, are the Chaos Emeralds going to play a bigger part in this film? Because the Chaos Emeralds barely played at all into the movies. Like, you know, we're kind of missing a pretty big key component of the Sonic franchise, being the Chaos Emeralds. They introduced the Master Emerald, and then they made the change where the 7 Chaos Emeralds, did I say 6? The 7 Chaos Emeralds make up the Master Emerald, and I'm just like, that's not right. That doesn't sound right. But whatever. The teaser, you know, we obviously see all our main characters so far. We even see Shadow. We even see Metal Sonic looming in the background. I heard a rumor somewhere that the plot for Sonic 4 is going to be that Amy is from a dystopian future where everything went bad. You know, where I guess Sonic was killed and we have Metal Sonic. Like, she comes from a bad future and she came back in time to try to fix that. I don't know where I heard that, but yeah, maybe that's the plot of Sonic 4. And also, it was officially revealed that, yes, Shadow the Hedgehog and Dr. Eggman, played by Jim Carrey, are indeed going to return in the 4th film. So, Jim Carrey, or Jim Carrey's clone, is going to return. Yes! It's pretty funny, you know? How Jim Carrey said he's retired from acting unless the script is written in gold, and while he's doing the Sonic movies. You know, on second thought, I don't think our team really has any any special moves to use. Is foul play physical or special? I don't know. Well, I have special moves. It's physical? Yeah, I thought so. I'm pretty sure all three of these are physical. God damn it. So yes, I'm super excited for Sonic 4. Interesting move, uses the opponent's physical attack for the move. Interesting. Anyways. So, another thing to go over. I meant to talk about this weeks ago, and I just kept on forgetting to. One day driving to work, I heard on the radio that the 20th anniversary for Hannah Montana was coming up, and it was also, it's also been, well, Miley Cyrus was spotted, perhaps in a blonde wig, going into a filming studio. So could they be filming something for the 20th anniversary? Maybe a Hannah Montana reunion? I kept on forgetting to mention that, and then, a couple days ago, yep, they did announce that on Disney Plus, we are indeed getting a special for the 20th anniversary of Hannah Montana. Now, I watched Hannah Montana growing up. I know it's not really a boys' show to watch growing up, but hey, that's what happens when you have a sister. I probably watch more of the Disney Channel and those shows directed at young girls more than probably any other person I know. All thanks to me having a sister who watches that and always loving to hog the TV. I mean, it's no surprise she loves to hog the TV. But it's not necessarily like, you know, the cast reuniting to play their characters again. It looks more like an interview talk show kind of bit where they relive the memories of filming the show, the memories they had, the experience, and even what looks like a live performance by Miley Cyrus. And what I found interesting during the trailer was the fact that they revisited some of the set pieces, especially Miley's revolving closet, where she has this giant, almost revolving Lazy Susan for all her outfits. I'm just thinking, that still exists? Like, that set piece still exists? Because Miley Cyrus, she turned on she flipped the switch on the wall, and she's just like, this thing is 20 years old, give it a moment, it needs time to actually start working. I'm thinking, it still exists? After 20 years, they didn't abolish the set piece? Unless that's still exists because it's actually someone's room, like maybe that's in Miley Cyrus's actual mansion. But like, there's no way a studio would keep that set intact for 20 years. After filming a movie or show, usually the set piece gets taken down. While maybe not always immediately, but like 20 years, yes, it's taken down by then. So I'm thinking to myself, it still exists? And finally, before we talk about the shows today, we finally got the first trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And there's some things I would like to mention about the trailer. First of all, the characters that we see. Can you believe we're getting Peter Parker as Spider-Man? No, I'm kidding, of course. So we're obviously getting MJ and Ned Leeds back, which, I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised. I was kind of thinking that the next trilogy of Spider-Man films, Peter would kind of just leave his friends behind. We'll follow a new cast of characters that he'll befriend. Maybe Black Cat, maybe who knows. So I was a little surprised to see that, you know, Zendaya and CEO of Sex were back in this film. You know, wasn't the point of the ending of No Way Home him realizing, you know what, maybe it's better for my friends that they don't know me. You know, I've caused them a lot of trouble. maybe it's best for me to just move on and just let them live their lives safely. And then here Peter is trying to reconnect with them again. It's like, wow, okay. I guess I got the wrong message at the end of No Way Home. But yeah, I kind of didn't expect to see them back. Well, probably back at some point, but like not as a big player. You know what I mean? I really thought Peter would just like leave them be. Just for their own safety, just leave them alone. And of course I lost this run already. So aside from Ned and MJ being back, we also see some big players in this film. We see John Bernthal's Punisher. Oh my god. We're actually getting Netflix characters in the films. Sure, we had Daredevil, or just Matt Murdock, in No Way Home, but it was a quick cameo, you know? It was super quick. So aside from Punisher, we're also getting Matt Gorgon's Scorpion, finally, after what, 8 years? No. 9 years? We're finally getting payoff for the Scorpion character? We also see Bruce Banner back. It looks like he's teaching at, I don't know which school that is. But, we also see that he is wearing his, like, inhibitor on his wrist, which we saw in She-Hulk. I really hope he loses that and he hulks out again. Like, Russo brothers, I love you, but you kind of did more harm than good with your Avengers movies. I'll get into that in a moment. So yeah, we see Bruce Banner back. You know, we also see a handful of other characters who I imagine have a smaller role in the film. We also see the Hand ninjas. I heard a rumor that the Hand might be in this film, and they actually are. That's kind of crazy to me. Spider-Man is fighting against the Hand in this movie. I can't wait to see. I'll be honest, I kind of thought the Hand was, you know, taken down and over with ever since the Defenders TV show. But I guess not. I guess they were just rebuilding themselves ever since. What about the plot? The plot that we get from this trailer. Well, we do see that Peter misses his friend and his girlfriend. We see that Peter, something seems to be wrong with him. It seems like maybe they're going the route where Peter in this film is going to get organic webbing. Hey, that's an interesting storyline to me. So it seems like they're taking a lot of story beats from some of the previous Spider-Man films, because I couldn't help but notice. Organic webbing, that's a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trope. When he got hit by Punisher's van, you know, that was very much beginning of Spectacular Spider-Man 2. And what about his suit? I really like the new suit, not just because it looks very comic accurate, but also because it's an actual practical suit. Finally, he's not wearing a mocap suit and the whole suit is CGI. Finally! I know in like Civil War, the Spider-Man suit was real and then they just used CGI to touch it up. But like, I don't want that. I miss when we saw a Spider-Man actor actually be in a Spider-Man suit. And finally, we're getting that back. Man, you would not believe the amount of memes I have seen online of like people editing in when Peter looks at his phone, looks at the footage of his friends, just seeing Zendaya being kissed by those two guys. And he's just like, man, I'm gonna fall off this building now. Speaking of Tom Holland and Zendaya, so we all know that it's supposedly reported, or no, it's reported that they are supposedly married now. And there is a quote floating around of Tom Holland saying, "I will retire from acting once I become a father." And man, I've seen the internet kind of reject his wishes. Because I've seen people being like, "Tom, we need another trilogy, buddy. Like, we know you're supposedly married to Zendaya now. We know it's Zendaya, but buddy, y'all gotta make sure to pull out. We know it's Zendaya, but still, we need that trilogy, Tom." People online were saying, like, we're going to take Tom Holland or Zendaya announcing a pregnancy as, like, a bomb threat. Ah, you gotta love the internet sometimes. But yeah, I'm super excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day. The cinematography looks outstanding. Not that I hated the John Watts movies, except for Far From Home. I did not like that film. Yeah, the cinematography looks outstanding this time. And another crazy thing is that the PlayStation YouTube channel posted the trailer as well. Now obviously PlayStation's also owned by Sony. But like, some of the shots you see in the trailer just look like they came out of the PlayStation game. Like, they don't look like movie screenshots, they look like the video game screenshots. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense that the PlayStation YouTube channel would post a Marvel Studios Spider-Man movie trailer. Anything else I missed about the trailer? So supposedly, this is going to take place like almost immediately after Season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. So maybe there will be some loose tie-ins. I'm not expecting any crossovers, though as nice as that would be. I'm expecting maybe just some references. Like, I don't know, the Mayor Kingpin was taken down, and now that's why all of these villains are running about. Something like that. All of these options are kind of terrible. My team is pretty weak to flying. So today, I did actually get a 0 IV Vulpix in Pokemon Go off the Daily Incense. And then, I got a shiny Murkrow. Nice, nice. Alright, so what do we have to talk about today in terms of shows? So today, we have an episode of Invincible Season 4 to talk about. That's right, I know y'all been waiting for this. Invincible Season 4, the next episode of Oshinoko, which is actually the second last episode for Season 3. And we have another episode of Ted. Now, no new episode to go over for Monarch today. Despite, yes, today is the release date for Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 Episode 4, but I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. You know? I'm not paying for Apple TV. I'm not paying a whole subscription just to watch one show. So because today is the release date, well, it takes time for the internet to update to have the episode online. So I didn't get a chance to watch a new episode yet. Therefore, today, only 3 things to go over. Invincible Season 4, Oshinoko, and Ted. There you go. And also, sadly, so today is the release date for Ready or Not 2. You know, Ready or Not Here I Come, or whatever the title is. I just kept on calling it Ready or Not 2. Yeah, today is a release date for Ready or Not 2 in theaters, and I do want to go and watch that. However, I don't think I'm going to be able to go for a while, just because one of my friends wants to go watch it with me, and he just got sick. So bare minimum a week for him to recover. So ideally we go on Tuesdays because Tuesdays are cheaper. So if not this Tuesday, which is very unlikely, so not this Tuesday, the following Tuesday. Damn it, that means we can't support the box office! If you're watching Sigourney Weaving, just know that I tried. Alright, y'all ready for Invincible? It came out a couple days ago. And yes, 3 episodes premiered for Season 4. But I'm only gonna go over 1 episode today. Why? 'Cause fuck y'all, that's why. I was actually debating. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. You know, something I remembered? When is the release date for the next Shrek movie? Oh, not until next year. Never mind. Or is it? Nope, not until next year. 'Cause I was thinking, hilariously enough, my mom and sister watched this, like, Chinese drama. My mom was saying, one of the characters, one of the girls in the show, she was saying kind of looks like one of the characters from a show or movie that I watch, only green. And I'm just like, green? She was saying like green, or was it purple? I don't know. One of the actresses in one of the shows looks like one of the painted characters in one of the Hollywood shows that you watch, son. So my sister was like, well, she's not referring to Guardians of the Galaxy, she's not referring to Shrek. I'm thinking to myself, what show or movie or even animation have I watched recently that has a green girl in it? And nothing came to mind. Until my sister was like, do you mean, could it be blue? My mom's like, yeah, maybe it was blue. So my sister showed her a picture of Avatar, and it's like, yeah, that's who she looks like. Damn, talk about disrespect to the actress. This will be good against ground types, at least. Anyways, y'all ready to discuss Invincible? Season 4, Episode 1, and only 1? So no Episodes 2 and 3 yet. So immediately, I should say that the animation looks much better this season already. Seems like they learned their lesson from Season 3. But then again, it's not really their fault, you know? It's not their fault that they don't have as much budget as they should. It's not their fault that, you know, the demand is so high that they need to work through the teeth to animate these episodes and get them out. But yeah, on the bright side, the animation looks far better this season already compared to Season 3. Which, I'll be honest, when I was watching Season 3, I didn't really see that many issues. Until I looked online and saw people pointing them out. And I'm like, oh yeah, how did I miss that? Yeah, now looking back, they did look kind of spotty. Like, majority of the characters just being PNGs And then some of the characters standing still and just moving across the screen. We are just getting beaten by the RNG right now. So let's see, episode 1 of season 4. We follow up with our characters a couple months after the ending of season 3. We see just how Earth is recovering, rebuilding after not only the Invincible War, but also the attack by Conquest. We see Mark doing his best to help out around the world. He's wearing robot-looking casts on his legs, his arm. They kind of just don't explain why, but you're meant to just piece together why he's doing that onto your own. So there's a couple of changes to planet Earth. We see that, well, at least they're rebuilding. That's nice. A couple months has passed, so they rebuilt, or they're still in the process of rebuilding. Much of the planet is still in ruins, but they're rebuilding. So we see Mark doing some saves, we see some GDA agents taking down some villains in like the woods or whatnot. We see the new Guardians of the Globe team led by Britt. But it's, you know, the team's not as big as the previous teams were. We also see a much older Oliver helping out as well. You know, he has been whiteified, and he also has longer hair. Hold on. I'm probably going to be all over the place going over this episode, because, you know, these kind of episodes, the plot jumps back and forth all the time, so it's kind of messy to try to remember the sequence of order of operation. So anyways, we do see that people, while Mark is helping save the day, saving from this like Godzilla looking kaiju, which Mark just one-shots. We do see that the public opinion over Invincible is still rather sour. Looks like Angstrom, yeah, he achieved his goal. No matter where people look, they will think of him. Even if they know it wasn't him, they'll still associate Invincible with all this destruction and loss. So it looks like Angstrom got what he wanted. So, at home, Mark gets an alert of some villain going rogue. Maybe it was Furnace, I forget. And he goes over to Oliver to ask for him to help out. But Oliver, you know, he claims that he was out all day helping. He just wants to play his game, which kind of looks like a bootleg Pokémon. He just wants to play his game and go to bed. But Mark is kind of pissed at him for not helping when that's all Oliver has been doing. So Mark just goes, fine, I'll do it myself. Debbie tries to comfort him, tries to tell him, like, Oliver's been doing his best. Mark, why don't you take a night off? You know, the same lines in the trailer. But Mark, you know, he can't take a night off. Not anymore. Not after everything that happened. So we do see some of the previous Guardians of the Globe members rejoin the team. You know, Rex, who was Rudy, now renamed Rex. So we see Rex, Monster Girl and Bulletproof, they all rejoined the Guardians. You know, the whole reason they left the Guardians was because they were worried of what Cecil might do to them if Cecil was willing to do something like what he did to Mark. I don't know what's wrong with these guys. I'm on Cecil's side. Like, I completely understand why he would have precautions, kind of like, you know, Batman's Babel protocol. Cecil's not wrong. But I do think Cecil kind of went too far with Mark. You know, he didn't... That wasn't even a last resort for him. That was the first resort for Cecil, but whatever. So they rejoined the team. And, well, because they left, there are consequences. Like the fact that Rex is no longer the leader of the Guardians. Britt is. So, you know, obviously Rudy's not going to be too fond of that arrangement. So Mark does go over and try to assist what looks like a couple of, like, construction workers, thinking that they called for his help, but no, it was like a trap by this dinosaur guy. This dinosaur guy, who almost sounds like an extremist, is just like, all the lives you try to save. Little do you know that the war that included all your variants saved more lives than you can know, because less mouths to feed. So Mark fights this dinosaur guy, and I don't know, I've seen a video online of Invincible's stupid power scaling, and ever since I watched that, it's like, yeah, Mark should easily be able to just one-shot any villain on Earth. But he doesn't? I don't know, it's like, geez, all the superpowered beings on Earth, no wonder Viltrumites think it's such a threat. If even Mark, who should be able to just one-tap these guys, doesn't. But whatever. Mark fighting this dinosaur just launches him into a building. And then, instead of a dinosaur, we just see this scrawny, naked guy who is supposedly the dinosaur's alter ego. You know, he's not in control, kind of like Bruce Banner to the Hulk. Mark is actually debating to kill the guy, just because Mark is willing to kill villains now. But he's stopped by the Guardians. So, yeah, good for him, yeah. I forget exactly when in the episode this happens, but we do see another character make their show debut, being Universa, voiced by none other than Denai Guerrera. And yeah, it sounds very much like her. It sounds very much like Denai Guerrera's voice. So we first see Universa show up in some random street, and she starts absorbing electricity with her staff, making her way to the inner city. At first I'm thinking, like, you look and kind of act like Weather Witch at the moment. We have this moment where Mark and Eve are having dinner with Eve's parents, and damn, Eve's dad just constantly gives Mark the cold shoulder. You know, saying that he lost his job because of the Chicago fight that he caused. It's like, damn. Like, that was uncalled for. And obviously Mark is uncomfortable. Oof, you don't want to be... No one wants that, no one wants that moment. No one wants that, you know, meeting the parents phase, right? That's always awkward. And if your parents are as, you know, stern as Eve's father, then, oof, tough luck. So after dinner, Eve's father invites Mark out to the porch to smoke a cig. But obviously he declines the cigar. Good for him. Good Mark. You know how I feel about smokers. So, it's here that Eve's father actually makes some decent and actual relevant points. I mean, first of all, he just goes like, I hate that my daughter's one of you people. It's like, wow. Alright. But, you know, he does kind of blame Mark slightly for everything bad that's happened to her. The supposed 2 times that Eve almost died, Mark was involved. The fight against Conquest, where she borderline did die and then used her powers to bring herself back. And then, what was the other time? Regardless, Eve almost died twice and Mark was always included. Or involved. So he kind of puts the idea into Mark's mind, like, if you really love her, maybe think about that. Think about the fact that you being in her life puts her in quite a lot of danger. Well, Mark is out with Eve's father on the porch. We do have a scene where Eve and her mother are doing the dishes. Eve's mother just kind of gives off the hints that, like, she's not happy in her marriage. I don't want to say that I can't blame her, because I don't know. Maybe Eve's father is like a Maddie. He's, you know, he's kind of unbearable at times, but, you know, you fell in love with the guy for a reason, right? Maybe there's some sort of redeeming quality to him. Anyway, so Mark, damn, he's had it rough, you know? He almost killed supposedly an innocent guy. I mean, at least the innocent side of him, the human side. And then this family didn't help. So Eve, because Mark said he's just super tired, Eve just conjures up a cup of coffee for him, but it tastes like shit. So down the drain it goes. But we do also see that the cup of coffee just kind of turns to like this pink goo, this sludge, which we did see teased at the end of Season 3 when Mark and Eve had sex, and then, you know, Eve's powers, we see on the side, they were also turning to mush. Gee, I wonder what's the cause of that. I have no idea. Even before the season started, I had a pretty solid guess. Yeah, gee, I wonder what's causing that. We see in the sewers these 2 poor workers getting got by the Sequids. You know, that storyline that started all the way in Season 1. I'll give you this for the show. They love to drag out the storylines, for good or for bad. To the point you almost forget about the storylines, but that's besides the point. So we do also see Debbie bringing Oliver to Art, voiced by Mark Hamill, to get Oliver a brand new costume. And this is where he gets his brand new red and black suit that is, you know, modeled after Omni-Man's suit. Everyone is kind of taken aback by the suit just because, well, that's Omni-Man's symbol. So it's still kind of not in the best light these days. But Oliver's just like, well, it's not Dad's symbol anymore, it's mine. We do also flash back to when Nolan first got his Omni-Man suit, where Debbie is still pregnant with Mark. And here's where I saw maybe a small little plot hole. At least it just doesn't line up as nicely as I would think it would, or it should. So, we learn through the dialogue, as Nolan is trying on his Omni-Man suit, that he thinks it's ridiculous. Obviously he would. But then Debbie actually reveals that it was actually Immortal who suggested Omni-Man come get a new suit. It was Immortal who suggested that Omni-Man comes to Art for a new suit. And, well, to me, that kind of doesn't fit together, because in the Adam Eve special, when Omni-Man shows up in his brand new suit, everyone is kind of just like, you know, new suit? Where even the Immortal was saying plain white thing, not flashy enough for you. It's just like, now with this context, why was the Immortal so quick to dismiss Omni-Man's new suit, huh? Isn't Immortal the one who recommended Omni-Man get a new suit? And then when Omni-Man did show up with the new suit, you're just like, plain white thing, not flashy enough for you? It's like, huh? Make up your mind, Immortal. Do you want him to have a new suit or not? Given the fact that Fairy is weak against Steel. And also, with a little bit of convincing, Nolan does warm up to the suit. He's just like, well, it does express my prowess. You know, it really emphasizes Omni-Man's cake. So yeah, Oliver does get a new suit. So, bad timing is bad timing. Not only is Universa attacking the power plant, distributing, you know, electricity and power to like the entire West Coast or whatever. At the same time Universa is attacking the power plant, the Sequids also begin their attack on the city. The Sequids taking control of as many civilians as possible. So, Mark and Eve are on their way to deal with the power plant with Universa. But the Sequids are kind of a bigger priority, so Cecil sends in the Guardians to take care of them. How are they going to take care of the Sequids? Well, they now have developed gadgets that, one, kind of disorients them, and two, a little like teleporter tranq dart to send all of the civilians away to safety. You know, Universa absorbing the plant's electricity and power. Mark just shows up and punches her, but he doesn't finish the job! Madvocate would go crazy over this, because Mark just showed up, punches her across the room, and then just stands there? Gives her a chance to, you know, regain her composure and speaks to her? Like, why didn't you just knock her out and finish her off? I don't know. Anyway, so Universa claims that her planet is dying with this power, and that she was able to sense the amount of power Earth has, like, light years away. Mark actually said a pretty convincing argument. Like, you know, yeah, your people need this power to survive, but you're killing these people to get it. How does that make sense? For a moment, it looks like Universa understood what he meant, but, you know, she has to worry about her own people. So she goes to the attack. She fires up, you know, a big blast that... Well, actually... I'm trying to remember how exactly the fight played out. Did Mark first separate her from her staff, but then the staff, because it only works for Universa, Mark kind of gets shocked by it? Well, while Mark is down, Eve tries to use her powers to conjure up some weapons to fight off against Universa, but her powers aren't working. So Universa fires off a blast straight to Eve, but, you know, Mark takes a blow for her. Yada yada yada. During the fight, they separate her from her staff, which is her entire source of power. With Universa powerless, Eve just, you know, really hard clocks her right in the face, and that's enough to one-shot her. Well, at least that was easy. Alright, the power plant is saved. By the way, we also finally also got Michonne and Glenn reunited. Hey! We had Glenn and Negan reunite at the end of last season. You know, they've had so many Walking Dead actors voice for Invincible. Obviously, Steven Yeun, Denai Guerrera, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Ross Marquand. Who else? Kari Payton, Lauren Cohan. You know, they've had tons of Walking Dead actors voice characters on Invincible. When are we gonna get Norman Reedus? When are we gonna get Andrew Lincoln? Melissa McBride, you know? You know, you already got... Or what about Lenny James, right? You already got 3 of the current Big 6 characters. You already have Negan, Maggie, and Michonne voicing characters. Where's Rick, Daryl, and Carol, huh? You're kind of missing half of the current Big 6 characters. I don't expect people like... You know, it'd be cool if they showed up, but I don't expect people like... Lenny James, Kim Dickens, Emilio Austin. I don't think they're going to show up to voice a character anytime soon, but that'd be cool. It'd be cool if they did. Anyway, so with the power plant saved, Cecil shows up and warns them that, you know, the Sequids are the city is under attack by the Sequids. And he gives Mark an earpiece, swearing no tricks this time. Oh, also, there was a scene earlier with Cecil and Donald, how Cecil, you know, he's tired from working all these late nights, keeping the world safe. So Donald offers to take over, since, you know, he's majority machine, he doesn't need to sleep. But Cecil, he doesn't sleep like normal people anymore. Instead, we see him arise from what looks like the Lazarus pit. I don't know what the deal with that is. Anyway, so Mark joins in the fight against the Sequids. The Guardians are already kicking ass. They are saving people one by one. But Rex notices, or is able to detect, that hey, there are still people who are probably being taken over by Sequids in the sewers. But Britt orders him not to go down there. So Rex separates from his Iron Man suit and goes down there anyway, since he's able to control them remotely. I don't understand why the guy doesn't just have a legion of his suits out in the field, but whatever. So obviously in the sewers, Rex is able to save the people taken over by Sequids down there. And then this like very tense scene, it almost seems like he's about to get got by one of the Sequids, but no, he quickly shoots the people, teleports them away, and then shoots himself to teleport himself away. Also, the GDA set up this dome, this like Simpsons movie dome, to keep the Sequids locked into this one area to make sure they don't reach out and spread to more of the planet. But the Sequids are attacking the dome in tidal waves, which is weakening the dome's, you know, efficacy or efficiency. As they save more and more people, there's only one remaining. You know, what's his name? Gus? You know, the main host for the Sequids. What was his name? Gus Ferguson? No, that's Donald's last name. What the hell was that guy's name again? Russ! Livingston, that's his name, not Gus, it was Russ. Also, I cannot believe I never noticed this. I never noticed why Shapesmith's voice sounds so familiar. It's because Shapesmith is being voiced by Ben Schwartz, the voice of Sonic in the movies. How did I never piece that together? No wonder he sounded so familiar. He sounds like Sonic. How did I never realize that? So I just now realized, or, you know, it took me until Season 4 to realize that Shapesmith is being voiced by Ben Schwartz. I never realized that. Yada yada yada, during the Sequid fight. The Sequids learn that the Guardians, they have these, like, discombobulating devices. So obviously they target those, and wasn't this kind of stupid of the Guardians, or is it just me? That they went in with, like, no head protection, knowing damn well the Sequids target the head to control the body? And for some reason, the Sequids never went after our characters. Sure, someone like Monster Girl, fine. The Sequids didn't go to control her, fine. But characters like Black Samson, Brit, Bulletproof, couldn't the Sequids have easily taken them over? We saw last season the Sequids, or was it season 2? I forget. We did see before that the Sequids, they did take over characters like Rudy at the time, and Adam Eve. So, like, what the hell, guys? Where's the head protection fighting against the Sequids? Anyways, so Mark has Russ in, you know, by the throat, and Bulletproof has moments to get one of the sonar weapons straight to Mark to free, you know, Russ. But at the same time, the energy shield is failing. They have seconds. So Mark makes a split decision. He makes an executive decision on the spot. If he kills Russ, an innocent man taken over by aliens, then the invasion stops. He cannot risk the Sequids getting out. So he kills Russ, an innocent man. First of all, I'm thinking, like, if you waited one more second, honestly, what damage would that have done? 1 second, one more second, you get the device to free Russ from the Sequids? Well, then all the other Sequids fall. The Sequids can't get far with 1 second of time after the dome collapses. Like, you know, Mark is now willing to kill to save his people and his world, but, like, you could have waited one more second, honestly. And I'm thinking to myself, Mark, you don't have to kill every villain like you're willing to do now. I know you're willing to kill the people who are bad enough to potentially destroy the world, like Angstrom and Conquest. But to Mark, he doesn't know which villains had that potential. So Mark, now having this mindset like, maybe I should kill every villain I see, might be going a bit too far. But whatever, he does kill Russ. Even the Guardians are kind of in shock that he would do such a thing, considering Russ was an I kind of just had a Porky Pig moment. Russ was an innocent man. Well, what's done is done, and Mark saved the day. Trying to think, what else am I forgetting about this episode before the post-credit scene? There was also a small little subplot in this episode with Debbie and Paul, where, you know, Paul is super awkward about staying over, having sex with Debbie. But the boys, they don't care, you know? Paul even suggested Debbie that they move in together. And Debbie, with hesitation at first, says yes, ultimately. Obviously, we know based on the trailer, and, you know, just based on where the storyline is, that Omni-Man Nolan will return to Earth and reunite with Debbie. In my mind, I'm picturing Nolan being furious that Debbie is with someone else now, almost wanting to walk up to Paul to kill him, like, how dare you be with my wife? And I'm imagining Debbie just steps in and defends Paul like, Nolan, how dare you? Not only did you kill thousands of people, you also went to another planet and had a child with another woman. So how dare you say that I cannot be with someone else when you were gone? I don't know, that's kind of how I'm picturing the scene plays out. But yeah, there was that little side plot with Debbie and Paul. Alright, so the post-credit scene. We see Donald rushing over to get Cecil because we see Conquest wake up. They actually did release this scene right before the season premiered with their countdown. So Conquest wakes up, claiming how stupid it was for Mark to leave him alive. And yeah, I agree. Because, god damn it, Mark. Why do you... This is the second time you've done this. Why do you think just crushing the heads will kill these guys? How hard is it for you to make sure they're dead by simply just decapitating them? But whatever. This is also a very big blunder on Cecil's part, because for some reason, he too thought keeping Conquest alive was a good idea. And obviously, the defenses he put in place for Conquest wasn't enough. Not even close. Because when Cecil... When Conquest wakes up, he very easily escapes. Barely an inconvenience. And as Donald and Cecil watch on the monitor, watching Conquest, you know, leave Earth, Cecil just goes, shit. You know, I don't know why Cecil hasn't tried this yet. I feel like it'll probably just tell Mark everything. Which, speaking of which, wait until Cecil has to tell Mark that Conquest wasn't dead. Oh ho ho, I imagine Mark might threaten to kill Cecil then and there. But like, Cecil, you have an Invincible on Earth with you. Why didn't you just test on Mark things that Test on Mark things that Viltrumites could probably not break out of. And if Mark can break out of it, well, you're screwed. Now, obviously, Conquest is like 1,000 times more stronger than Mark. So, something Mark can't break out of, probably someone like Conquest could. But, hey, you had an answer right there. Just test things on Mark. But whatever, there you go, Invincible. I probably forgot some minor storylines in this episode, but for the most part, there you go. Alright, let's go over Oshinoko before we get into the insanity that was this TED episode. And, you know, I keep calling every episode of Ted insane, but this one actually is. This one's on another level of insanity. And that's coming from me. Alright, so next let's go over Oshinoko Season 3 Episode 10, the second last episode of Season 3. We continue off with where we left off last episode, obviously. It's now Ruby's turn to act, and Frill made the big mistake of asking Ruby, what does lying mean to you? So Ruby goes on this like big internal monologue about the fact that not only does she not like liars, but she is a next level liar herself. She's a liar by playing the role of Ruby Hoshino, you know. She plays the role of an idol, a public figure. She has to act and play an innocent character. You know, super bright, super positive, super giddy about everything. She also had to lie and act when she was still Sabrina. Act like she's positive, act like she's beaming with light, acting like she didn't resent her parents for having, you know, for having no time to visit their dying cancer patient daughter. So whether she realized it or not up to this point, Ruby herself is a massive liar too. Like, she's been acting and playing a character her entire existence. Not just her entire life, her entire existence. Both of her lives. And then she realizes, was Mom like this too? Was I like this too? Obviously we, the viewer, knows yes. But like, she also had to play an idol, a public figure, an icon, when nobody knew how she really was. Anyways. So Ruby, for her quote-unquote audition, it wasn't acting, it was genuine. She expresses how much she hates liars, how much she despises people who lies, how much she misses her mother and the doctor, and how she wishes to be dead, so that she can be with those she loved. And then she turns an enormous 180 and just kidding. See, it was all in a performance. But you know what? Just like with Aqua using genuine emotion to get past an acting obstacle, hey, she did that too, and she was even able to, you know, what the other two characters perceive as shedding some crocodile tears, despite those being genuine. And then Akane takes her turn to act. She plays She plays how I would act. And then with her performance, she kind of just reveals to the other two what this project might be about. It's like, damn. We all knew Akane was going to figure this out, given how smart she is. God damn it, Aqua, you fumbled the bag so hard. But yeah, Akane just reveals to the two of them, this movie that we're being casted in, potentially, is probably a story on Hoshino's death. Like, they're able to piece together, you know, together they're able to piece together that, yeah, that's probably the role. And this role that we are being auditioned for is probably the lead role playing Ruby at first gets the wrong idea, like, so now Aqua is just using Mom's death as a cash grab? But no. Both of them come to Aqua's defense, especially Frill, who actually has a copy of the rough draft of the script. And she just tells Ruby that, you know, I read parts of the script, I've never seen so much malice be written on paper before. So at that moment, Ruby realizes maybe Aqua's playing some sort of game, you know? He's not doing this for a cash grab. No. Aqua is doing this because he is getting revenge in his own way. A little bit back and forth, you know. Based on acting skills alone, Akane would be the best fit to play Ai, but Ruby claims that nobody understands how Ai felt more than she does. So Ruby demands to be the one who play her mother. And she is not leaving this audition until it is agreed. The two of them agree that Ruby will be the one playing her. It's actually funny that Akane actually finds this moment a little awkward. Because, like, this girl who called me Big Sis once now is, you know, so determined with all this anger inside of her to play her mother in this film. So, yeah, they act until they both agree it should be Ruby who plays the role. Akane even giving Ruby some acting tips. Well, they spent the entire day there as if it's a Persona game. And then as Akane leaves, pondering the idea of Ruby playing the lead role of Ai in this project, Aqua is just sitting there waiting for Akane. Obviously, Akane, first of all, she brings up that it's been a while. So, remember, a couple months have passed. And she's just like, weren't you going to get out of my life forever? Even I was saying, yeah, that would be kind of hard, since Aqua has no control over the casting. So if they're both cast together in this project, then they kind of have to work together. Akane warns Aqua, you can go through with this plan of yours, but if you go too far, I'm going to stop you. She walks away. Aqua just thinks to himself, I'd like to see you try and stop me. Akane Kurokawa just says her full name. That's never a good sign. So then we see, you know, we see this nice scene where Aqua and Kana are having lunch together, just having some takeout noodles, where he talks about some stuff about pandas with her. Oh yeah. Kana did officially announce her graduation, quote-unquote, her quote-unquote graduation from B. Komachi. She did want to step down as an idol, and she has now publicly announced that, yes, she is going to. We see a lot of fans heartbroken over the news, but what can they do, right? In her announcement, she says that in the 2 years since she's been an idol, she has learned a lot about herself. And what she has learned is she wants to really focus on acting. So Kana does bring up that she was contacted by, you know, the director for this movie role. And supposedly Kana's going to play one of the girls in the previous B. Komachi group that didn't like Ai. So she asks if Aqua's okay with that, and he says yes, only if it's you playing the role. She's just like, why? And Aqua goes, because you're very special to me. So Kana kind of just goes butt crazy, you know, yelling off at him, and then she just stomps out the room. Kind of like, geez, bro, stop teasing me like that. Stop leading me on. Are you into me or not? And Aqua just has a moment of self-reflection like, Kana, Amira, you need to stop being so gullible. Because people like me who are just using you, eventually, you're gonna run out of things to be useful for, or whatever he said. What else happened in this freaking episode? Well, we do see that the project, everything has been finalized, everything has been greenlit. So, the casting is set in place. The, you know, the investors, the production team, the cameras, the makeup department, the costume designers, all of them have already been taken care of. All of them are getting ready to work on the project. So the film has been completely greenlit. It is entering production soon. But we do see the producer kind of ponder like, damn, losing actresses like Akane and Frill for the lead role is a big loss, is a big hit. You know, and he even calls out the bullshit that is their schedules being so full, so busy. They don't have time for a lead role, but they do have time for a supporting role. He just calls bullshit on that. But for his sake, for everyone's sake, let's hope that Ruby can live up to the expectations and play a good lead role. But the end of the episode is where a lot of questions come from. We do finally get some answers, not really, but we also get a lot more questions. It's also interesting that the producer recognizes that both Aqua and Gotunda have an axe to grind. Whether it be revenge, or payback, or whatnot. The two of them, they have a motive. They have a motive for making this film. So, we then see Aqua... we see Aqua at, like, a pier overlooking the ocean. And we also see a motorcycle, so I don't know if that's Aqua's. Like, did he get his driver's license? When did he get a motorcycle? Anyways, so we see Aqua standing by the ocean side, just staring out at the sunset. And that mysterious little girl shows up. And we finally hear more than just one line from her. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought about this too. And the show now kind of confirms the sad truth. Like, the sad reality, no, this is not the case. The little girl, in the flashback, when we saw her approaching Aqua standing over Ai's grave, supposedly at that moment, she told Aqua, who had hoped maybe this would be the case, that no, I did not reincarnate like they did, and is living happily out there somewhere. She just reassured Aqua, no, her story ended then and there. Her soul, her consciousness, her light was shattered and spread across the stars and sea. She is gone. She will never smile again. I'm not gonna lie, the idea did cross my mind. If Aqua and Ruby were reborn, could I have maybe been reborn somewhere out there? But this girl just shows up and just goes, nope. No, she's gone. Aqua is not happy about hearing this truth. But this little girl just keeps on teasing him about this too. We don't even get to know this character's name yet either. I'm not gonna lie, I had a theory, although this is a rather stupid theory, that maybe this girl was I reincarnated. But no, clearly that's not the case, unless they're just hiding that fact. But clearly, no, that's not the case. So Aqua, with hatred burning in his eyes, just questions the girl, did you tell Ruby this? And she claims that no, she didn't have to. Ruby will play her role when the day comes, just like you will. Why did your soul get transferred into this brand new body? And as we've seen previously, every time this girl shows up, a bunch of crows show up with her. And as the black feathers from the crows become abundant, she just vanishes. That brings up a lot more questions than answers. Like, who is this girl? how does she know Aqua and Ruby's identity? How does she know Ai has not reincarnated and isn't somewhere out there? How did she vanish just like that? It kind of seems like we're dealing with some sort of supernatural aspect here. Some sort of, like, magical side. Which is kind of crazy, because this show, aside from the whole reincarnation part, has been relatively grounded. So to introduce a supernatural aspect is kind of out of place. But anyways, after that, the project has been greenlit. Ruby is reading the script, and upon reading the script, she realizes their father. And then the episode ends. I wonder, is it this moment that she finally realizes that their father is the culprit, the villain, the mastermind? Did she not think of that before? I don't see why she would, but I also don't see why she wouldn't. So there's the episode of Oshinoko. We have one episode left until season 3 is over. Alright, let's finish this run, and then we will go over the next episode of Ted, which I believe is the second last episode of Season 1. Let me take a look. Has Season 2 even premiered yet? Yeah, it did. March 5th. But obviously, I'm not even done with Season 1 yet. I haven't started Season 2 yet. Like, damn. There's a lot of content, you know? At the moment, I'm borderline watching like 5 TV shows. Ted, Monarch, Invincible, and soon, Daredevil Born Again and The Boys. And all of that will hold me off until Spider Noir on May 27th. Oh, you know, you want to know what else? So, I saw on the Crunchyroll YouTube channel, I watched this clip of this anime. Let me see. I think this is a newer anime. I've never heard of it. The anime is just something like, "This monster wants to eat me." Was that the name of it? What is it? Yeah. It's literally just called "This Monster Wants to Eat Me." I watched this clip. It's this little girl who helps this, like, yokai recover strength. And the yokai spares the little girl. I don't know, I just randomly watched this clip, and I'm kind of thinking like, I know nothing about this, and I would be lying if I said my interest wasn't, I don't want to say piqued, but, you know, it did capture my curiosity. I have no idea what this anime is. I don't know if it's like a wholesome anime, if it's a, you know, a wild anime like Food Wars was, if it's full of fan service. I don't know anything about it. I watched one clip, and that kind of made me curious, like, what could the rest of the show be like? Okay, so I see a ground type there. I'm gonna pick this path, since picking the water path is kind of suicide. I mean, as if I don't have enough to watch, because I still haven't even seen Season 2 of My Dress Up Darling yet, even though that came out, like, last year. I haven't even seen Spy X Family Season 3, despite coming out, like, a year and a half ago. Very, very busy. Lots of things to watch. By the way, I've been having this craving for chocolate lately. I've just been having this craving for chocolate. And, well, let me tell you, back in the day, I would solo completely devour an entire, like, family-sized Kit Kat bar. All by myself. Yeah. You know how Kit Kats are a pair? Well, you know, the jumbo ones where it's like twice as long and with like 8 different bars. Yeah, I devoured all of that on my own in one sitting on multiple occasions. Yeah. You thought that sounded bad? Let me tell you a magic trick I can perform. Put a whole pizza in front of me, I'll make it disappear in seconds. Anyways, let's get into talking about Ted. So this episode 6, I believe, was like the peak of insanity for this show. So this is a Christmas-themed episode. If it wasn't the episode before, or the episode previously, then the episode before, that was a Halloween-themed episode. This episode is a Christmas-themed one. Where, let's see, we begin with John and Ted. Damn, what were they doing? They were in their room doing something. Damn, which one do I want? I guess I'll take the expert belt. Damn, I kinda can't remember. I also think this might have been the longest episode yet. Anyways, so I forget what they were doing specifically. Ted and John, they were in John's room doing something. And then Susan calls him down to frost the cookies. Because Susan baked some cookies and they're gonna add the frosting to it. So John and Ted come into the kitchen where Blair is, and also Sarah. Remember Sarah, her partner in crime, running the pot business? And Susan just makes it a point that Sarah is Indian. You know, she's just like... first of all, Blair introduces John to Sarah, and Blair's just like, she's Indian. It's like, yeah, thanks, Aunt Suze, you don't have to mention that every time. So, as they're frosting the cookies, Maddie comes in, being like, John, I need you to come out here and help me. Help with what, Dad? There is a, what was it, a raccoon that's frozen? So I need you to help me bag up the pieces I'm about to chip off so we can donate it to the homeless. It's like, what? But John's just like, I can't. I'm here frosting the cookies. But, you know, everyone kind of turns against Maddie, where he's just like, oh, come on, you can do that later. Come on, I need your help now. Blair pitches in, it's like, well, Susan asked him first to frost the cookie, so you gotta wait your turn. You know, and Maddie's just like, fine, I didn't need your help. You can, you know. Borderline, he kind of called John gay for frosting cookies instead of shoveling the snow or whatever. Well, I guess maybe I'll try paralyzing you first. Oh yeah, also the fact that Sarah's here. So, her flight got canceled, or she missed her flight, whatever. So instead, she's going to be spending Christmas, the holidays, with the Bennett family. When Maddie shows up to ask John to help shovel the snow, you know, he gets introduced to Sarah, where once again Susan's just like, this is Blair's Indian friend. She's Indian. It's like, stop making a point of that. So later that night, when they're all in the living room, all together, talking about whatever, the whole family kind of just dogpiles in on Maddie, and I can't say it's undeserved, because Maddie is kind of a terrible person, you know? So they're getting ready to leave for church. Was it even that evening? No, it wasn't. It was the next day. Yeah, it was the next day, not the following evening. It was the next day. The next day, when they're getting ready to go to church for what? The final Sunday before Christmas? I don't know this stuff. But Maddie doesn't want to go. He works hard to pay for the bills and the house and the fridge. That he doesn't want to go. He just wants to stay home, watch the game, and drink beer. And, you know, Blair just calls him out for being selfish because Susan is going to sing. She's going to have a solo during the choir. And Maddie, he just kind of goes off. Like, how dare you call me selfish? I work hard to support this house. Anyway, so Susan, she pulls out a box. Oh wait, I remember how the episode began now. It wasn't John and Ted in the room. They were in the basement playing Battleship. That's right. And then Susan calls them up to frost the cookies. Well, anyway, Susan, she pulls out a box of a bunch of old toys to donate. And Maddie realizes, hey, that's my toy dump truck from when I was a kid. You can't donate that. Ladies, you cannot donate your man's childhood toys. They have more sentimental value than you can have. So then everyone just uses the same argument as a parent would. You don't play with it anymore. Well, I will play with it. I'll play with it right now. Starts, you know, his toy dump truck, which he named Dennis. Just starts playing around with it. He'll hang out with Dennis while they all go off to church. And they do. So everyone goes to church where the choir sings beautifully and Susan has a solo to herself, a solo moment. It's like, damn, this lady can't hit those notes. So then the church sermon, or I don't know what this guy's position is. The father, the guy, the preach, the pastor, whatever this dude's position is. I don't know. I didn't even know when I watched the third Knives Out movie. Anyway, so he's just going on about the fact that Christmas is celebrating the birth of Christ. But then Ted chimes in, like, the dude is saying, we've never had anything before or ever since the birth of Christ. And Ted just has to raise his hand and chime in like, well, what about me? You know? Aren't I kind of like Christ? Because you said we've never had anything before or since the birth of Jesus Christ. Well, what about me? And Ted, he's kind of not wrong. Throughout the episode, Ted kind of believes himself to be Jesus Christ. But the pastor, he is quick to deflect everything Ted says. But Ted has a rebuttal for everything. You know, something about, like, the stars, the star alignments when Christ was born. John and Ted are like, wasn't there a shooting star when you came to life? Yeah, there was. Like, Ted came to life because I wished on a shooting star. The pastor is just like, Christ, he had a purpose to be born, to show us that he loved us all. And then Ted just pushes his chest, plays the I love you sound effect. That's a very good argument, I gotta say. Also, they had this joke regarding the choir song, where it's like, why do they call kids mild and tender? Who is eating these kids? So Maddie at home watching the game, drinking beer with his toy dump truck named Dennis. He's just talking to himself, talking to Dennis. And he starts to give Dennis a voice like, hey Maddie, why don't you have another beer? Great idea, Dennis, I think I will. Hey Maddie, why don't you take your socks off? I don't care that you stink up the house with your feet odor, cause I know that's something you can't control. Well, thank you, Dennis, I think I will. Anyway, so it's nighttime, and Susan is once again giving him the silent treatment because he didn't go to church and listen to her solo. So they both go to bed. Maddie, he can't sleep, however. So instead he gets up, he looks outside to the night sky, and sees a shooting star. He closes his eyes, makes a wish, and then the next morning he gets woken up by his now sentient, come-to-life toy dump truck, Dennis. What is this insanity? Ted coming to life, alright, I can get that. But two? Two instances? 8 years ago, when a young John Bennett wished on a shooting star that his teddy bear would come to life, it came true. And then 8 years later, when his father did the same thing to his toy dump truck, the toy dump truck also comes to life. It's like, what's stopping kids all around the world from doing the same thing? Like, if it happened twice for the same family, let's say this isn't happening all around the world, where kids are looking up to the night sky, seeing a shooting star, wishing for their toys to come to life, and they actually do. Like, this happened 2 times now. It's kind of funny that throughout the Ted movies, we never heard about this, you know? How Ted isn't the only instance. So the whole family is in shock, questioning how the fuck is this even possible? It's like, Maddie, you wished for your toy to come to life? Actually, no. All I wished for was someone to take my side during these arguments. And then his toy dump truck, Dennis, came to life and is just taking Maddie's side on everything. Now, I forgot to mention too, this episode is a very political heavy episode. You know, left versus right ideologies. I'm not going to go too deep into the actual arguments themselves, but just know that Maddie and Dennis are now, you know, 2 peas in a pod. Blair now has to face double time. And also, it's abruptly introduced or announced to Maddie that Sarah, the Indian girl, is going to be staying over for the holidays, and Maddie is super pissed that he wasn't asked about this. You know, since like this is my house, shouldn't I get a say? And then he kind of very hesitantly, almost like he really didn't want to, extend the invitation like, yes, you may stay for the holidays. So Blair and Sarah, you know, they angrily run off to Blair's room. Susan, she wants to go check on her niece to see if she's okay, and as she pries open the door, she sees Blair and Sarah making out? Heavily making out? We see Susan kind of just like, oh, like back out from the door, wanting to give them privacy, and then she just peeks her head through and starts watching again. It's like, hey, show me as well. Sarah opens her eyes and notices that Susan is just there watching. So Blair comes clean and just tells Aunt Suze that, you know, they are a couple. And Susan, kind of in denial, is just like, oh, I see, a couple of really good friends. No, Aunt Suze, we are a couple. We are together. Yes, very good friends indeed. And she just claims it's probably best not to mention this to Maddie, especially since it's Christmas dinner and we know how he views this stuff. And then Susan suggests, like, you know, after the holidays when we have nothing to do, specifically on the 3rd of January, I think this might be the best time for you to tell your uncle. I'll even mark it down on the calendar. So it's family dinner time where, you know, John and Ted, they also... Oh, right, before that. John and Ted, they're in John's room reading the Bible, seeing if there's any traces of, or any evidence of Ted being Jesus. And I don't know what version of the Bible he was reading, because Ted notices in the Bible it's like Jesus saying there's like prostitutes and drugs in heaven. I don't know what copy of the Bible they were reading. So they get the idea like, hey, Ted, if you're really Jesus, do you have any powers? Oh, maybe, but it's probably the case where I have to learn to use them before I can actually use them. Hey, is there a portion of the Bible that tells us how to do the spells? Alright, so it's the Christmas family dinner where Susan cooked up a big pile of ham. Dennis is also there. And, well, these two are heavily offensive. I can't say I agree with everything they say, you know? I think based on the way the characters are depicted, obviously, Maddie and Dennis are the right side, the very, very, very right side of thinking, and Blair is on the left. It's very clear which side these characters are on. So anyways, during the dinner, the topic of, like, being gay in the military comes up, and how Maddie is relatively against it, and so is Dennis. And then something like, the gay have no place in this household, which is, you know, probably the wrong thing to say, like, the worst thing you can say. Because Blair just stands up and formally announces to the family and right to Maddie's face that she and Sarah are a couple. They even kissed to prove it. And hilariously enough, John and Ted had a bet for that. Ted's just like, I win the bet. God damn it. And then John just has to pay up Ted. That's hilarious. So, Blair, feeling like she's no longer welcome in this household, she and Sarah are ready to leave. Susan, she wants her husband to apologize to Blair right away, but, you know, him being as stubborn as he is, he's just like, what? No, I'm not apologizing to her. If anything, she should be apologizing to me. And Susan, she's just like, well, if you're not going to apologize, then no ham for you. Maddie says fine and walks away. Susan looking all sad. She's just like, all I wanted was a nice Christmas dinner. Not the ham. So anyways, John and Ted, they show up in Blair's room to try to comfort her. And also they said, John said, hey, I brought you some ham in case you're still hungry. Okay, where is it? Oh, here it is. Pulls it out of his pocket with a $5 bill in between the slices. And Blair's just like, yeah, that's touching a 5. No, I'm good. And John and Ted, they also show up to reassure Blair, like, hey, you know, this doesn't change the way we look at you because of your, you know. Which Blair at first dismisses, but she also realizes that that's not the way they meant. So, you know, she thanks them for their understanding. Ted also questions, like, hey, Blair, is this because of, you know, did you have bad dick once, and is that why you're a lesbian? And she's just like, no, it didn't have bad dick, that's not how it works. I'm just attracted to who I'm attracted to. Because supposedly Blair is, I forget the term she used, where she doesn't care about gender, she only cares about personality. So, race, ethnicity, background, gender, appearance, none of that matters to her. She only cares about personality. I don't know what that's labeled as. It's also funny that Ted and John trying to comfort her, they're just like, yeah, we love lesbians. We enjoy lesbians all the time. My fellow gooners out there. What? But yeah, Blair and Sarah, they're packing up their stuff to leave. But John actually suggests that maybe Blair should be the one to approach Maddie. Obviously, that sounds stupid. But John actually makes a great point. The fact that Blair is probably the smartest one in this house, Maddie sure as hell ain't gonna show up to apologize, or even just rectify anything. So, Blair, being the bigger person, probably has to be the one to initiate that. Otherwise, the family's gonna be torn apart. So Blair just says fine, and she goes down to the basement to try to speak with her uncle, where Maddie is with Dennis, the come-to-life toy. I cannot believe this episode's just pure insanity. The writing in this episode is on par with like a James Gunn project. So anyways, as Blair is coming down, Dennis, the toy truck come to life, just tells this like offensive joke that sure as hell would not fly in today's day and age. So they're in the basement watching the game, and I think Dennis says something along the lines of like, all right, here's a scenario for you. You're on a plane. Was it even a plane? I don't remember. Whatever. A woman is saying like, I can't do anything, and then a man just comes over and brings her dishes or laundry. I don't know. I don't remember all of the offensive jokes made, but just know that, ooh, if you're a snowflake, you are going to be super offended by this episode. Anyway, so Blair comes down to speak with her uncle. She tries to speak to Maddie alone, but Maddie, being as stubborn as he is, he's just like, anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of Dennis as well. Alright, fine. And you know it's serious when there's no background music playing, when it's pure silence. You know it's serious when that happens. So Blair, you know, she just goes that she doesn't talk to her parents anymore. Uncle Maddie and Aunt Susan are all she has left. And she doesn't want to lose these guys, but if she feels like Maddie doesn't welcome her in his home anymore, then there's nothing that she can do, and she'll just have to leave. Maddie, sitting there in silence with his ego up his throat, just cannot say anything, so Blair just takes this as an okay, I will leave. I will leave you. Enjoy your Hitler toy with you. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of agree with what Dennis says here, because Dennis is just like, why do they always bring up Hitler when trying to make a comparison? It's kind of like, yeah, the left definitely do that. They do, all the time. That's a good question. Why do they do that all the time? It's almost like they don't know world history. And just try to pin whoever they don't like with just the worst figure possible. Well, anyways, Maddie, somewhat realizing the errors of his ways, kinda has had enough with Dennis. Because Dennis just keeps on going on, and even Maddie's starting to realize, like, damn, why are you acting so crazy, bro? So anyways, by the way, I should mention that Dennis, the CGI moving, talking, alive toy dump truck car, does have a mouth. Not like human lips, but, you know, the grill does move to speak. So, Maddie pretty much telling Dennis, you stay here, I gotta go, you know, I gotta go take care of something. So, Maddie goes to the window, sees Blair about to leave, and so he rushes out, he taps on the car window, and pretty much, in his own very Maddie way, tries to apologize to Blair, pretty much using this as an excuse. I was raised in a different era. I was raised differently. And then he, I'm not gonna lie, does a very poor apology, a pretty piss-poor apology, where he says, of course you're welcome here. I don't want to be a bad uncle. And yes, Sarah, you may stay for Christmas. I'm sorry I called you a terrorist. She's just like, you never called me that. Oh, that's right. You weren't in the room when I did that. Way to just expose yourself there, buddy. But because it's clear that Blair and Dennis, the alive, you know, Tonka truck, aren't compatible, and Blair is actual blood, Maddie decides, I guess Dennis has to go. Dennis, just overhearing this, gets all pissed. You would think something like a scene from Tiny Soldiers would play out. Does anyone remember that film? I don't remember when that film came out. It came out in like the late 90s. Does anyone remember that film? That's a real deep cut film right there. A really obscure film. Anyone remember Tiny Soldiers? It's kind of like Toy Story, but horror. Well, not really horror, but like, the toys are evil. Speaking of Toy Story, we did get the trailer for, what, Toy Story 5 recently? A couple months ago, or weeks. I haven't watched any Toy Story movie past the first one. And even that was a long time ago. Maybe one day I'll sit down and I'll just watch all the Toy Story movies. Anyways. So as Maddie is going down the basement trying to find Dennis, he kind of gets home alone to where Dennis he trips Maddie to fall down the stairs, and then he's just like, what the hell, man? To where Dennis is just like, get rid of me, huh? After all I've done for you, I came to life just to be by your side on everything you say, and this is the thanks I get? But Maddie, he actually does an honorable thing where he puts his family first. Just like, yeah, but my family comes first. So even Maddie is pretty sick of Dennis's shit right now. He's asking like, why are you acting so crazy, man? Why are you acting like this? At first I thought Dennis would be like, well, my personality is based off of you. I thought he was going to say something like that, and then that'll teach Maddie to reflect on himself, like, oh my god, this is how I act? This is how I treat my family? But no. No, that is not the case. That is definitely not the case. Because Dennis, the come-to-life toy truck, a literal toy plastic dump truck, with a grill that speaks for a mouth, just screams and comes out, I have thoughts about men. I want to do what you want to do to women, but to men, Maddie. It's like, what the fuck? What on earth? What? What the hell? Did I die? Like, what am I watching? I'll tell you what, that's a plot twist I didn't see, considering Dennis and Maddie were so against gay people. So, Maddie just goes like, well, you supported me my whole life, buddy. Now I'm going to support you. But you know, by the way, there was a gag in this episode where they were talking about, like, being homophobe. Shouldn't that mean you're scared of gay people? Because anything phobe, doesn't that mean fear? Arachnophobe, you're scared of spiders, right? So like, homophobe, that doesn't necessarily mean you're scared of them. That means you're against them, you don't like them. But like, if it's phobe, shouldn't that mean you fear them? I don't know. They tried to have that argument in this episode. Anyways, so after Maddie comforts his toy car that came to life, they see him off. They're standing at the driveway, getting ready to say goodbye to him as he goes to, I forget where, some town with a small population where he can suck as much as he wants, I guess. I don't know, he's a freaking toy car. Oh yeah, there was also a gag before they say goodbye, and this was earlier in the episode too. Before they, when Dennis first came to life, Ted actually asked, hey, how was it for you? Oh, you know, one moment there was nothing, and then the next moment I came to life. When you came to life, was there like a gag reflex, like an acid reflux moment? Yeah, there was. There was also this feeling like I needed to pee, but I can't. Yeah, so it's the same for me then. Alright, so now we know when Ted came to life, he felt that kind of stuff. Acid reflux and the need to pee, but he can't. I wonder if Ted actually pees or not, or even poops. Because we do see Ted drink and eat. Does anything come out? I wonder. Or is it just like Guzzlord? Eats everything and then it just disappears. I guess Kirby as well. So anyways, they say goodbye to Dennis, and Dennis actually does like a car thing where he pulls out of the driveway and starts driving off. I was really scared they were gonna do a gag where a car, an actual car, drives by and just runs over Dennis. But no, they didn't do that. I am going to swap him. Damn, Mr. Mime could have swapped out for that. Shame. Alright, so Ted takes credit because he still thinks he's Jesus Christ. And then Susan's just like, you know what they did to Jesus, right? You know how his story ends? Yeah, totally. You know they hung him on the cross, right? Like, what, they killed him? Oh, never mind, I don't want to be Jesus anymore. Hey, maybe I'm Buddha. Was Buddha lazy? Oh my god. And then as an ending scene, we actually see Dennis genuinely driving on the highway into the next city. It's like, what? Okay. Can you imagine that? You're driving on the highway and you see this plastic Fisher-Price toy moving on its own, like down the highway. And to this day, we don't know what happened to Dennis unless he shows up again in Season 2. Because in the Ted movies, we never heard of Dennis. According to the world, only Ted came to life. No one knows that Dennis came to life too. We don't know where Dennis is. Yo, picture this real quick. Picture this. If toys and stuffed plushies can actually come to life in the Ted world. And we know, thanks to the second Ted movie, something like Comic-Con exists. Oh, imagine if that secret got out. All the gooners out there would go crazy. Think about this for just a moment. Just a moment. Think about this. Life-size Gardevoir plush. Need I say more? Some triple-chinned, balding, fat Redditor is gonna look out the window one day, see a shooting star, and I wish my life-size Gardevoir doll would come to life and be real. Someone in the Ted universe will probably do that at some point, and it will happen. Well, better the Gardevoir plush than the life-size Vaporeon plush. But yeah, this episode was like peak insanity. But wait, it's not over yet, because we also get this nice wholesome moment where they're giving gifts for Christmas. John and Ted unbox a ton of gifts under the tree, and he's just like, wow, thanks, Mom. This is some awesome shit right here. And then Maddie gives to Susan a vacuum cleaner, claiming that this sucks better than anything else out there. This sucks the best out of everything else. It does better sucking than you would believe. And then, like, an actual wholesome moment where, but wait, there's more! Where Maddie gives Susan a big box. Aw, shit. Aw, man, had we gone first, we would have won this. God fucking damn it. Maddie gives Susan a big box. She unboxes it, and it's a karaoke machine. Susan didn't mention karaoke a couple episodes ago, and Maddie gave her a karaoke machine so that she could sing to the family, because he missed her solo at church. See, Maddie does have a heart. You know, it's very, very, very difficult for me to associate this guy, Maddie, with Steve Smith. It still blows my mind that this is Steve's voice actor. Like, it's just so unnatural. It just doesn't match, you know? Seeing Steve Smith's high-pitched voice coming out of that face, it just doesn't match. Like, you would never guess. I didn't guess. Anyways, I'll do this last run and then I'll call it for today. 1 in 100 odds my ass. Ooh, this is a good path. It's an okay path. Well, we'll see what the end results are. But actually, yeah, this is a really good looking path. Okay, so next time, Next time, we won't have a new episode of Oshinoko yet, the Season 3 finale. We will discuss the next episode of Invincible, the next episode of Monarch, and the Season 1 final episode of Ted. And then after that, I don't know. Will I watch Season 2 of Ted just yet, or will I hold off, considering we have a lot of stuff coming up? A lot of stuff like Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and The Boys Season 5, literally on the horizons. Oh, speaking of The Boys Season 5, so Prime Video did do a live stream where they, I think, premiered the first episode of the final season in, what, Rome? And some of the actors did show up. I didn't watch the whole live stream, but they did recap what happened in previous seasons. You know, when they did that and the title was World Premiere, part of me was thinking, did they move up the release date? Let me check. Nope. No, they didn't. No, it's still premiering April 8th. Part of me was thinking, should I keep Maractus for Marowak after this? But no, I think I should take Pelipper. Drizzle. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Drizzle. I'm super effective against ground anyways. But I'm not going to be super effective against the ground afterwards, because I think that's a Quagsire. But I'll still take. I could have gone for Boldore, but, you know, no stab ground with Boldore. It does have stab. What? It does have ground, but it's not stab. Physical moves. Now, why would I want that? I think I'll just take this. So, how are you guys tonight? What did you guys think of these episodes? Assuming you watched them, that is. I know a certain someone out there did watch Invincible. Boy, you love to see it. One turn, this bitch. But yeah, I could have talked about all 3 episodes today. But, you know, there's more than just Invincible that I'm watching right now. Love me some lore episode. So Invincible episode 2 was my favorite. I will confirm nor deny if I have seen the other 2 episodes yet. But yeah, I'm still thinking, like, I'm still waiting for some of the other Walking Dead cast members to show up. Well, honestly, considering Norman Reedus and Melissa McBride were filming in France and then Spain, I guess it makes sense they didn't show up to voice act. You know, Lauren Cohan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan acting up in New York makes a little more sense. And we don't know what's going on with Andrew Lincoln. I don't know, there's just this extra layer of awesomeness for me, knowing majority of the voice acting cast. Well, now that I figured out it's Ben Schwartz voicing Shapesmith, I think I heard that before, but I didn't piece together in my mind, you know? Alright, can we get lucky with the last run for tonight? You know, I thought about doing a series where I shiny hunt all legendaries and ultra beasts in Dynamax Adventures. And then I thought how stupid that would be, considering that would take me like a whole year to do. You've seen how long it's taken me to do Heatran alone. And Heatran's not even the toughest one. Ah, shit. Hayot, Wave, weakened by rain, you gotta love it. Beautiful. Nope. Nope. No. No. You know what? This is such a good path. I'm going to keep it to use for next time. I'm not going to reset until I get it from this path, but I'm just going to save it. So, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.